Altenberg in Saxony, the venue for the 2021 BMW IBSF Bobsleigh and Skeleton World Championships. And on this snowy Saturday morning, our first port of call is back with skeleton. We've had the men and women's competitions, and now we head into the mixed team competition. We have a dozen teams on our start list, each feature one of their male and female sliders, and they race as a pair. The total time of both runs for the team decides their overall placing. Hello everybody, I'm Martin Haven, delighted to welcome back Bree Schaff. And Bree, we've seen for the skeleton sliders in the Arctic conditions this week in Altenberg just how tough this track is.
Thanks, Martin. Super tough, and it all starts right here with one of the longest, flattest starts in the world. We saw some issues yesterday kicking athletes left out of the groove, so that's something to keep an eye on today. But it's very important to be as quiet as possible up in these top portion corners. We saw them trying to kick athletes left or right as they're headed into the first corner that wants to fight them. Corner 4, 2 pressures, tosses you on your shoulder into corner 5, which is really important to set you up for the labyrinth here. It's long and flat and heads into corner 9, which is the critical juncture into a long straightaway to the Kreisel, one of the biggest, tallest, largest oscillation Kreisels in the world. Easy to get tossed out again on your shoulder on the exit, as we saw Martin Stuker struggle with yesterday. Corners 13 and 14 are very high pressure, and Omega here into the longest straightaway, 15, 16, 17. If you go in late, that can really mess with your downtime, especially your shoulder here on the exit of 17, as now you finally exhale a sigh of relief and say goodbye to Altenberg.
Or shudder with a groan of pain. There's a lot of contact with the wall on this track, and it's all but unavoidable. So it is a very tough track. The ice is very, very hard and unforgiving. So let's take a look at our teams. Well, we've got Liz Meyer and Kyle Murray for Canada, Alina Tararychenkova and Yevgeny Rukoshwev for Russia. Unfortunately, Jane Chandler and Mark Lynch have had to pull out from the second Canadian team, but the ones to watch perhaps will be Tina Hermann and Christopher Grother, the two reigning champions, and they will go off last but one. Well, this is our 12th teams competition in a World Championships. Previously, 10 involved a male and a female skeleton slider and a two-seater bob with a female crew and a two-seater bob with a male crew. But there is no bobsleigh around in this team competition. For the second year here in Altenberg, it is skeleton only. So the start draw then with Canada, the Bobsleigh Federation of Russia. No Canada won, they've pulled out. So Belgium we welcome for the very first time. Kiel Meiermans and Colin Freeling will be up third. And then we'll run through to our two German teams at the end. So the format, very straightforward. It's not a relay race, as you may have seen in luge, where you tag the next slider in. The clock only runs for the athlete on the track. We'll start with 26-year-old Canadian Liz Meyer. 5th World Championships for Liz. 3rd time she's been in a team race. The first time, though, in this format, because, of course, Bree, she didn't race here last year.
Right, 560 start for Liz. Liz is looking to clean things up. Oh, a little bit of a wave there in corner 4, taking the usual tap that we're going to see 4 to 5, but she did manage it well. Oh no, big skid there in that straightaway. Corner 9 is so tricky. It's 1 1/4 pressures, and you have to try and maintain that height to drop out into the straightaway. It sucked her back up in the end a bit, and that's what put her into a big skid. Like we've seen all week, Martin, this ice is so hard and so hard to maintain control on.
It gives you speed, but it takes away control, and somewhere on that balance, the athlete has to find the best they can. 59.74 for Liz Meyer. So that is half of the Canadian team down. They were Canada team 2. As we said, Jane Channel. Unfortunate for Jane, last year's silver medalist with Dave Kreshcheshin. She and Mark Lynch have pulled out, so I'm not sure which one of them has the most aches and groans this morning.
We're done in Altenberg, yay!
One of the greatest views in ice sliding. Well, there is Jane Channel. She's holding the sled for Kyle Murray. Kyle in his first World Championships, the 31-year-old. Finished in 27th place in the men's competition.
Now, we finally saw Kyle start to get comfortable yesterday by his fourth heat. So watch his head position, watch his shoulders. His discomfort in the first 3 runs was shown by how high he was on his sled. Naturally, on a track like this, already looking much better.
Well, and the first time here, every single run is such a learning experience, Bree, and he's just adding that knowledge. Good exit out of 9, gets tagged on the straight.
Right, Martin, you're drinking essentially from a frozen fire hose here in Altenberg as you're taking in so much input, not just with your mind, but with your body, every corner down the track, and saying, okay, check, that hurts, don't do that again.
Yeah. And then you go and do it the next run and the next run, because it takes a lot of experience to avoid those hits. Across the line, 58.74, so a second quicker than Liz, which makes a total time of 1 minute 58.48, and that is the key here. So they will go into the leader's box. So the sequence is if they are basically one slider in a normal race, although obviously it's 2 heats. So you move into the leader's box. If the next pair have a lesser total time, they will move into the leader's box. If they don't, Canada will stay there.
And he's just catching that extra pressure that I mentioned on corner 9. And the problem with that isn't so much that that you hit a wall, it's that the pressure continues down the straightaway, and if the athlete doesn't melt into the sled, you easily break into a skid on what we've seen as the coldest, hardest ice these athletes have seen all season, maybe ever in their career.
Russia gets underway, the Bobsleigh Federation of Russia, with Alina Tararychenkova, a debutante in the World Championships, and a stunning performance from this 20-year-old. Finished tied for 4th place in the women's race, so she has got a lot of future for the Russian team. 5.71, the start record for the women is 5.24. We didn't get anywhere near any of the records in the last couple of days.
Already in the lead, she's been really fun to watch this week. Beautiful form. She nailed corner 4 to 5 up there, which is the first very difficult portion. Has been getting so many.
Just 20 years old, she can certainly drive an ice track. She's been in and out of their World Cup squad. What she's going to need is an awful lot of sprint training in the summer for the next few years. If they could somehow give her the start of a Nikitina or a Kanakina, then she would be an awesome weapon. But a 9300s advantage with a 58.81 over Liz Meyer, and that means, again, your team is only as strong as the slowest of the elements against the rivals. And in the previous format of competition, we often saw that skeleton made a much bigger difference in the total makeup of the 4 runs in variance than bobsleigh was able to. Well, let's see now from the junior world champion, Yevgeny Rukashwev. And again, this 21-year-old kid from Moscow put in a fantastic performance. He finished in 5th in the men's competition. So the 2 youngsters really shone for the Bobsleigh Federation of Russia in the last couple of days, Bree.
Yes, and this is a great matchup here. And of course, as we look down the start list, you know, the absolute unsurprising element here today is going to be if a Germany or if a Russia wins, because they had incredible performances across the board, men and women here in Altenberg.
A nice controlled looking slide. He's got that great long lean shape that works so well on the skeleton sled as well.
We're seeing a lot more skidding out of him here than we did yesterday, so I have a feeling the ice conditions changed, which is crazy to say because it's cold, it's hard, it's fast, and it's amazing that that can be a variable still today.
57-4-0, so Canada are out of the leaders box, and that is a 1:56.21. Now, I have a feeling that BFR may live in the leaders box a little while. He's a bit ho-hum with that run, but actually,
yeah, he did not like that skidding.
A good one. No, no.
So coming out of Kreisel there, just breaking away a bit, and sometimes you can't tell. An athlete naturally leans away from the wall, and on ice like this, that's really going to break you into a skid. And this is the women. The female and the male from BFR laid over each other here. And you can see the difference, Martin, in how the Kreisel is managed from a lighter athlete. Women are much lighter than the men, so their steers are less effective and do have to drive a little bit different.
For the first time ever in a team competition, we have a squad from Belgium. Kim Meilmans has been a regular in the World Championships. This is her 6th Worlds, but she has never had a male skeleton slider, and they've never had a female and a male bobsleigh crew together. So this is the first Belgian team. She finished in 9th in the Worlds.
Having a good run there, a nice exit of 4 to 5, but again, we saw her break away and skid there in the transition, which we had not seen yet, which tells me that either the setups are a little bit looser today, or athletes need to be relaxed a bit more into that sled. Lots of skidding here.
Temperatures this morning down around -10 as everybody arrived at the track, so not a great variation, and a little bit of snow in the air as well. She's losing time all the way down. 59.58 for Kim Meilmans. And that is the second fastest slide. 59.74 for Liz Meyer. So halfway through their pair of runs, Belgium with, let's say, a 4-hand advantage over Canada too. So it's up to young rookie Colin Freeling now to try and hold up his end of the bargain. Well, whatever else he's got from this World Championships, he's got plenty of experience and 2 bibs to go and pin up in a frame on his wall to remind him what it's all about. 30th place in the men's competition for the 18-year-old, the youngest athlete in the field in all our 6 disciplines.
Another factor here, Martin, is the fact that these athletes have been in serious fight or flight all week. And so now that those races have finished yesterday, oh no, big hit there. He likely came off his sled with that classic skeleton scorpion, 4 to 5. But as I was saying, they've had the relief of finishing World Championships. And the problem is they still need to be on their game through this last run.
Yeah, it's like doing 6 rounds with Mike Tyson, and then the cornerman goes, "Okay, off you go again, son." What do you mean? What?
Exactly.
Third best speed out of the 3 sleds. Well, Belgium, good to get them out. First time we've ever seen them in the team's competition. I think the chances of a medal are very slender, and as they come across the line, their total time does leave them 3rd. So a 60.04 for Colin Freeling. If I had been really clever, I would have written down what each of the athletes' fastest individual run was. I'll do that next year. So Belgium lie in 2nd place, Canada in 3rd, but BFR 1 are our leaders at the moment, BFR 2 rather. And yeah, ooh.
Oh, really good save there.
18-year-olds are flexible,
and back
Bree.
flexibility.
He'll barely notice that.
They're made for 4 to 5 transition.
They still bounce, yeah. Next up is our first Italian team. Now, bronze medalist Valentina Margaglio leads them off. She took bronze last year with Mattia Gaspari. Don't break up a winning team, so of course they're not sliding with each other this year. She's sliding with Amadis Bagno. So, Amadeo Banis, rather. So, finished 12th in the women's race, but a great starter. Let's see if she can help herself to another World Championship medal here.
5:41 start there, and a decent exit 4 to 5. That's going to help maintain her momentum. Okay, except she was late there in the labyrinth, and that rhythm is difficult to get back because the transitions are shorter up there.
Well, she was 4600s up on Tarachenkova. She's in all sorts of trouble in the Kreisel. It'll be down to around a 10th and a half, not even 200s. She had good speed.
That was a decent exit, but she lost a lot of time in there.
Yeah. Nothing left below the Kreisel, and I don't think she's going to repeat her medal performance of last year. Third at the moment. 59.67. Well, that really was a run of two halves, wasn't it, Bree? Until she came out of corner 9 and had that little drift and then got sent into the Kreisel sideways. She was good. Below that, the pace had all gone away.
Yeah, when you nail 4 to 5, that allows you to maintain your speed, especially from a rocket-fast starter like her.
So Amadeo Banis, 21 years old. He finished a strong 8th in the men's race. I think Italy had a very good World Championship so far. Now, he finished in the team race last year in 14th place with Alessia Crippa. She comes up in Italy's second team, and in fact, in the random draw, they come out next. So 5:14. That is the quickest of the men's
really fun to watch Italy
so
in these
far.
World Champs.
Yeah.
So far, so good. Looking a little bit skiddy on that sled. We're going to see more of that probably in the straightaways. No! Well managed, except he's dead late in the Kreisel. That means they get a huge first wave there as the pressure hits all at once. Messes up your timing, but he nails it on the exit.
Well, he needs an epic run because all that skidding from Valentina Margalio cost them around 7/800ths of a second to BFR. And he's going to have to come all the way back. Now they're 9800ths back, so 57.52. So 1:57.19. That leaves them in second place. And it is a bit of a roller coaster ride for those in the leaders box. If you see somebody coming down much quicker than the first of your sliders, then suddenly it's all, ooh, I think we're in trouble. And then you wait for the mistake from the second. Well, here's Valentina. Little over rotation as she laid on the sled. And then the Kreisel.
Yes, and watch the way her nose is pointed down. We're looking for, oh, and as she's rising, struggles with her timing here. You want to see the sled parallel mostly around the corner, and the way her nose varies tells us that she was off rhythm.
So here is the other half of the team with Amadeo Banis last year. They had the two experienced sliders together and the two youngsters, and they've split them up this year. So Alessia Crippa, 28 years old. She finished in 22nd place in the women's race and a 5:71 getaway for her.
A little bit of that drift there in the upper portion. Into corner 9 here. So, yep, caught that little edge on the end. Did an okay job relaxing, but that did send her very late into Kreisel, like her teammate.
Ooh, bit of an uncomfortable landing as she comes off the Kreisel as well. Second best speed. Now, can they overhaul Canada? At the moment on the splits, they are in 5th position. So, Alessia Crippa behind Liz Meyer in the run and comes down with a 60.25. So that leaves a huge job for her teammate, last year's bronze medalist Mattia Gaspari. usual. The thinking was to try and give each team a little bit more of an opportunity. But I would possibly have put the bronze medalists back together again and give one team a much better fighting chance, because if you have a problem with one slider, the other one has a lot of work to do. So it's on the shoulders of Mattia Gaspari. Again, good strong worlds for him. He finished in 10th place in the men's competition. 5.19
That is
getaway.
one of the really fun. It's one of the fun parts about this race is in skeleton, of course, it's individual sport, as individual as it gets. You're taking all these hits on your own, so it is fun to have a teammate like in this team event. That is until they blow it.
Yeah. Or when they save you. And talked to Dave Kreszczeshin
yes,
on
true.
Channel last year about the bronze medal roller coaster. That was impressive. Best speed so far through the Kreisel for Mattia Gaspari, and still the best speed at the bottom. He's brought the gap down from 1.5 to 1.25, down to 1.1, and this will leave them ahead of Canada and Belgium at the line. They will be third. They are third. Well, that was a really good second slide, wasn't it? And unfortunately,
yeah,
when it all goes wrong for one of you,
so far.
Yeah, when it all goes wrong for one of you, then unfortunately that's where it stays wrong. 57.04, 3600s quicker than Yevgeny Rukoshwev. And as ever, a little gesture at the finish from Mattia Gaspari, full of fun.
Yep, tagged that wall going into 5, but the rest of his run was so clean. He didn't come off, and that is, all things considered, that's better than a massive skid there.
Well, we're 5 years out from a home Olympics for Italy in Milan Cortina, and already everybody getting very excited about going back to Cortina d'Ampezzo. Next up for Great Britain, the first of the two teams, 20-year-old Ashley Pittaway, second World Championships for the 2016 Youth Olympic Games gold medalist. She finished in 14th place. It was a little bit of a mixed bag for British skeleton, I'm afraid. Matt Westin, who looked like he was going to grab a top 6 finish, crashed out in the third heat. And the other sliders had to recover from a very disappointing day one.
Physically, the British program is looking so strong. Clearly, they are getting it figured out with their physical training and recruiting. Oh, fighting a big skid there on straightaway. Just got it under control. And another big skid out of Kreisel.
Yeah. Sled is breaking away sideways on every straight. There's no pressure at all on these icy straights, and they are hard and smooth as glass, and you know how grippy glass isn't. Across the line, 59.78. And Elena Tarochenkova doing a little jig to keep warm in the leader's box. It's still hovering around -8, -9. It's not the warmest weather out there. So Ashley Pittaway, 59.78. That is the 5th fastest slide. A little quicker than Alessia Kripper. So her teammate has work to do as well, and it's one of the quickest starters in the business, 29-year-old Marcus Wyatt. Again, day one, the starts were there, but the sled just broke away under him all the way. Let's see if he's got a little bit more control as he did last year. Well, raced with Laura Dees in last year's competition. They finished in 11th spot.
Nice.
Start record is a 486. I don't think we got anybody below the 90s in the men's competition. 94.95 was about as quick as it went. So Marcus with a very quick start. If he can build a lead here, that will really help.
He's looking very good on his sled. Nice and controlled. Did they take that tap out of 4, but managed it.
The The gap is growing from 73 to 75.
Baby skid there out of Kreisel.
He's kind of holding his own against Yevgeny Rukoshwev. And they're going to be in second place ahead of the Italian teams. But 8800's back. And the BFR athletes are looking very happy with their work so far. They are the leaders with GB2 in second place and Italy 2 in third. Italy 1 in third. So those are the top three at the moment.
Looks like she's having trouble getting Yevgeny to celebrate with her.
He's a little bit more of a straightforward character, I think.
Yep, just sticking those rudders out, trying to get the boat straight, going into a really tough corner. Oh, that was a big skid heading into 15.
So next up, we have the second of our British teams with 32-year-old Laura Dees. Raced last year, as we said, with Marcus Wyatt. They finished outside the top 10. Laura finishing in 15th place in the Women's World Championships.
Beautiful. That's going to help Laura a lot here. She builds speed. They've still got a lead here. Laura is obviously very talented, but did struggle in the World Champs here.
Well, she started at 5:54. Tararechenkova, for our leaders, started 5:71. So she's still hanging on to that advantage. And that gives her teammate Matt Westin a real chance of redemption. 0.03 of a second in it with Tararechenkova. And Tararechenkova finished
Great run for
in
Laura.
4th place, 11 spots ahead of Laura Dees. So Laura 1800's back. That is a great opportunity for Matt Westin. Now, he was very much on a par over the first day with Yevgeny Rukoshwev of BFR, our current leaders. So this could be pretty tight. Now, don't forget, we've still got Austria, 2 German teams, and the second Bobsleigh Federation of Russia squad to come. So 4 more teams after this. But for Matt Westin, can he get one back over the Kreisel that killed his World Championships yesterday in Heat 3? He's got a lot to try and fight back here. 23 years old and one of the best starters in the business. 5:02 getaway, that gives him 1400s over Rukoshwev, so that puts them back in the lead. But it is going to be hundreds of a second in it.
Really hammered that second steer of corner 4 and had one of the latest entries into 5. He is not messing around here. He went from 6th place in the second heat and dropped all the way to 23rd yesterday in the 3rd, and he's smashing those Kreisel steers as well.
Yeah, he thinks this track owes him something, and he's going to go and take it. 2 tenths up on BFR. This might be good enough to put GB in the medals hunt.
Oh, it's
2400s. They're going to take the lead. This is redemption for Matt Westin.
Hey!
Laura Dees very excited with that, as rightly she should be. 1:55.98 is now the time to beat. Yes, Matt Westin. 2nd year of sliding, and you just heard how much that means to him. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you very much.
That was the fastest run we've seen so far. And also a great example, Martin, that in skeleton we always say, oh, you want to race on the edge, let it fly a bit. But he smashed these steers, and that shows that on this ice right now, it might be better just to gain control, as much control as you can possibly find on ice that is so hard to grip.
And you saw the difference there with Laura's line up and down, and Matt just one constant radius parabola. So, the cat is among the pigeons. BFR no longer are leaders. Let's see what Elena Nikitina, the bronze medalist in the women's race, can do. 5:41, that's a big getaway from the fast-starting Russian.
Beautiful. That's where Elena struggled a bit yesterday in the third and fourth heats. Again, she nails it. This is the Elena that we saw come out from the first heat and take the lead.
Yeah, and she needs that one heat again, doesn't she? There's no second chances here. No lets, no mulligans. One and done, 2400s. Gap's coming down. But she will have a slight advantage over Laura Dees. How much? 1700s. Ooh, that's very interesting. Sergei Chudinov with a big smile on his face under that. He doesn't know which way this is going to go. But you've got to reckon that silver medalist Alexander Tretyakov is going to put down a pretty decent run as well. And both these BFR athletes are looking for another medal out of these Worlds. And if you think the team's competition is just a bit of fun, wait until you see all the medals lined up on people's walls in their lounge. And then you'll realise that it is still a World Championship gold. The 4x100 relay is still a huge race to win in the World Championships. And this is just as important. So Alexander Tretyakov, 12th last year with Nikitina. They had a bit of a disastrous run.
So far, so good. That is one of the best exits of 4 that we've seen.
Well, last year, Elena started 5:24. She started 5:41 today. Tretyakov much closer to his 4:89 with a 5:02. But a 2900
There's a reason
lead.
he's pulling away. This is a beautiful run.
Yeah, the gap is kind of hovering around 0.3 of a second, isn't it? And good speed at the bottom, as good as Matt Westin had. And across the line, BFR retake the lead with Team 1. So there's a 0.4 of a second gap ahead of the GB team. Our timing screen has finally put
But
BFR2
he was only
down
hundredths
into
ahead
third
of Matt
place.
Westin.
Yeah, 700s. And again, you know, that shows what Matt Westin is capable of. Well, here's Elena. Getting that little tap over the brow from 14 to 15. Yeah.
And this, the nicest entrance to Kreisel we've seen so far. That is what you want, glued to the left wall, going in nice and early.
That's what 12 World Championships gives you, that experience, those decade and a half of sliding here in Altenberg. Well, if somebody needs redemption, it's Janine Flock as well. The 28-year-old was in a really disappointing 16th position in the women's race. She's racing with Florin now. Last year they finished in 13th place. Let's see if Janine, like Matt Westin, can unlock a good one here.
And that finish was a result of stuff like this, Martin. Little taps, just a consistent struggle over every run here all week. Again, taking that hit into 5, late through the labyrinth. Big skid there. These corners are so smooth and so shiny that if you steer too abruptly, you'll see the whole sled break away like she did in a labyrinth corner.
Oh, we've never seen anybody go straight up towards the roof there in a week of sliding so far. So Janine is inventing even more new mistakes. 6,800s back, the gap is growing. Elena Tarachenkova with the best speed down at the bottom here of everybody so far in the women's field. Janine is close on speed, but a long way back, 59.15. That means that Florian Auer needs to somehow be half a second quicker than Alexander Tretyakov. And Alex with the fastest run so far. Well, nobody wants to walk away from this track with more questions than answers. And I think Janine is definitely going to. And as for her teammate, Florian Auer, finished in 9th place. He and Sami Meyer rather, both had a really strong Worlds for Austria. Let's see if he can just add a little bit more gloss to his week with a big run here. One thing's for sure, Brishav, he is going to be chock full of confidence, just the opposite perhaps of his teammate.
Indeed, his start has been hurting him all week. He's been so consistent sliding, and so to end up 9th with a 5:26 start, 5:28 we just saw here, really shows how well he drives this track.
So the gap is a second, and that will grow because he doesn't have the speed of Tretyakov. He has great lines down the track.
All in all, a
question
pretty
is,
decent run, but...
Yeah. Can they get into the top couple of sleds? 1.3 back. So they are not going to catch the second BFR team. Ooh. And they are 4th at the line.
1 minute 56.99 total time. In 4th place currently for Team Austria. Das bedeutet...
And that was a 7th place run for Auer. Probably one of his worst of the week, even though it didn't look that bad.
Well, that puts them 4th ahead of Great Britain, both Italian teams, Canada and Belgium. And we still have 2 teams to go. So last year they were 13th in a field of 15 sleds. And they are currently lying in 4th place with 2 to go. And so it will be a top 6
and that
finish.
was that really aggressive steer that we saw up in the labyrinth from Janine.
Yeah, still trying to get it unlocked. Okay, so Elena Nikitin and Alexander Tretyakov will now be noses pressed on the screen in the leaders box because we have our 2 world champions from this week, both of whom unbelievably defended their titles. Tina Hermann coming from an 11th place first heat to win the gold medal. 5:83 getaway. Well, let's hope there's no repeat of that Heat 1 catastrophe here, because she could well be looking for a second gold in 24 hours.
So far, so good. Everything going according to German protocol here. Oh, we got to see her work hard to hold that height on the exit. It's rare that you see that. We saw her really pushing her knee in to try and extend the height around the corner and drop off.
Best speed we've seen so far down the track. She's recovering from the 10th best start. Now she gets ahead of Nikitina, and there will be no stopping her. This is where she makes her gold medals happen. 58.40. So she takes the lead for Germany 1.
This is the best time.
So the back for Tina Hermann off the 10th best start of 10 sliders. She may well end up with the 12th start. Oh no, 11th, because Jacqueline Learning will be a little slower than her. So it's all about the drive with Tina Hermann. Christopher Groothaar is a little closer to the front rank when it comes to the start. But again, first day didn't go according to plan. He had to recover from an indifferent first run. And a very diffident looking athlete normally. He just came out of the box yesterday to take the gold medal, and he did.
And while this is by no means an underdog team, they were a comeback team here in Germany. So they are an appropriate pair as he nails the exit 4 to 5.
And and they were in 5th place in last year's race, and they were both the world champions then as well. Now, last year they may have been completely spent. I can't imagine there'd be any less emotional last night after both winning gold on comeback fights. But it looks like they are building a handy lead. Has he got the speed? What's he got at the bottom? Yes, he's pulling away now. 1300ths of a second. They're going to lead with 1 to go. Nikitina and Tretiakov are in 2nd place, 1500ths. That might be enough.
That was a 3rd place run there for Christopher, so Tina really held them up here.
Yeah, 5th at the start, 3rd fastest behind Alexander Tretiakov. There's a good load from Tina. So how was his? That was a pretty decent load as well from Christopher Groth here. Talking about her start, but it's the whole package. And only one team now can win gold, take it away from their teammates. Jacqueline Lurling and Alexander Gassner. Last year's champions are the last to go. Silver medal yesterday for the 25-year-old from Winterberg, and a bronze, a repeat of his bronze from last year for Alexander Gassner. So 5.94, 1100 slower than Tina Hermann. And Hermann outdrove Jacka on 3 of 4 runs over the last 2 days. The question might be, can she limit the damage enough for Gassner to have a shout?
It's always interesting to hear the difference in sound from sled to sled and how athletes have them individually set up. So far, so good. The run that we would expect from Jacqueline.
2 different makes of sled as well. She's on an FES like most of the German sliders. Tina Hermann on one hand-built for her, a bespoke sled from Dirk Matchens. And you're right, they do make different noises. The Bromleys have a unique noise. 2200s back, 2nd place. We could be looking at a Germany 1-2 here. So Elena Nikitina and Alexander Tretiakov in total are 2400s back. To take silver here, Alexander Gassner has to be within 200s of Tretiakov's run. So no pressure, Alex. 2 World Cup wins this season, and again fought back from the bottom of the top 6 in the final heat to grab his bronze medal that he won last year for a 2nd successive time, 5:10. So he gives away 1200ths of a second to Alexander Tretiakov. From here on in, he's got to race his way up to the silver.
Not as clean as we saw from him this week.
The question is, was it as clean as Tretiakov? That's a nice exit. That's as good as Alex.
Right.
Speed is there or thereabouts. The gap is stabilizing around 1800s. 2nd best speed. 1500s back.
Oh, there's not enough
BFR
track.
of 1500s back at the line. 3rd place, it could be a tie. It's 2nd by 100th. It is Germany 1-2. BFR take 3rd. And as last year, Matt Westin in a Great Britain team is in 4th position, knocked out in the final run. So, 2 silver medals for Jacqueline Lurling from these Worlds, a bronze and a silver for Alexander Gassner. 100th of a second, and that's why this race is so much fun.
1/100th of a second makes you question every single thing you did on that run. But when you've got a teammate, so many variables, that's still a podium.
So he needed to come down within 200s of Alexander Tretyakov. He came down 100th behind Tretyakov. But our champions in the individual races and in the team race, Tina Hermann and Christopher Groothaar, combining superbly. And it just goes to show what they can do over 4 heats, they can do over 1. So Tina Hermann, Christopher Groothaar are world champions in the skeleton mixed team competition. And she looks just as happy as she did yesterday. Christopher with a smile on his face as well. Jacqueline Lerling, Alexander Gassner taking the silver medal. And it's bronze for Bobsleigh Federation of Russia, Elena Nikitina and Alexander Tretyakov. A bit of redemption for Laura Dees and Matt Westin as they finish in 4th position after disappointing days in the individual contest. But again, for Matt Westin, 2nd year in a row. Last year with Maddie Smith, he was 4th. This year, 4th with Laura Dees. But he got one great run out of Altenberg before he leaves. Well, Brichaf, a fun way to round up the Skeleton World Championships. Thank you so much for pulling all-nighters from the West Coast to be with us. It's been fantastic to have your company, and we look forward to another Worlds where hopefully we'll be able to see each other in person. We've got plenty more action coming up today. The monobob competition for women gets underway and 4-man bobsleigh. But for now, from Brichaf and me, Martin Haven, from the IBSF TV crew, that's it for the Skeleton World Championships 2021. We'll see you for more bobsleigh action very shortly.
Cattivo.